Hi everyone and welcome to my channel, and today I've got some 7-inch singles to show you, and I've also added some of the tracks to a playlist called The Joy of the Single, which you can find by clicking on playlists on my channel. Okay, first up it's Something Wild, and this is on the Sundazed label, and it comes in a nice green vinyl, and it's a reissue of a 1966 Psych single, and it's interesting because the lineup includes Bill Payne on keyboards, who later on joined Little Feat. And next it's Angels with Dirty Faces by Sham 69, and this was a UK top 20 hit in 1978. And I've uploaded a Top of the Pops performance of them performing Angels with Dirty Faces to the playlist, and I've also seen them a couple of times in recent years with 3/4 of the original lineup, and Jimmy Percy still is a really fantastic frontman and commands the stage. Next up it's the Dentists and See No Evil, and they were one of the Medway scene bands that followed in the wake of the Milkshakes and the Prisoners. By the time this single came out on Homestead in 1992, they'd moved towards a pleasant sort of jangle pop sound and away from the garage band sound. And next it's The Daily Flash and a reissue on Sundazed of a 1966 Psych single, and it comes on a nice blue vinyl. They were a Seattle-based band, but they were influenced by what was happening in the San Francisco hippie scene at the time. Next up it's DM3, and they were led by Dom Mariani, who had been in the Stems, one of the great garage rock bands from Australia. And it's on the Spanish label Munster, and it's power pop with quite a well-produced meaty guitar sound. Next it's a highlight from Sandinista by The Clash, and this was The Clash at their peak when they could turn their sound to a multitude of musical genres, and on this occasion it's a Motown influenced sound, and it's a romanticised ode to those UK indie bands that would press up 1,000 singles and hope for the best. And this is a London based band called the Dirty BURDS, and they had a raw underproduced sound. Most of their releases came out on the London label Damaged Goods, but this is an American release on Rapid Pulse. Next it's a Minnesota garage band, and this one is on red vinyl. And these are previously unissued alternate takes from 1965. And it was put out on Get Hip in the early 1990s. Next up it's the Mono Men, and this is on the Sympathy for the Record Industry label, and they had an exciting garage sound, and the band were active in Washington State in the 1990s. And there's the details. And moving on, we've got a twee pop band called Go Sailor, and they were fronted by Rose Melberg, who'd formerly been with Tiger Trap, and this one also comes on coloured vinyl. Melberg's untutored vocals are a bit of an acquired taste, but I do love their off-kilter charm. If you're intrigued by the band, Slumberland put an album out of all the tracks that they released on singles and comps a couple of years ago. Moving on, it's Tommy Boyce and Bobby Hart, and they were songwriters, of course, for the Monkees, and their recordings fit nicely into that late 60s bubblegum pop sound, and this is a 1969 Swedish edition on the Bell label. And next up it's the Promise Ring, and they were a band that I adored in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Their albums Nothing Feels Good and Very Emergency were simply superb guitar pop with some enigmatic lyrics. And this was the first single from what became their last album, final album, Wood Water. And they brought in the producer Stephen Street, and it wasn't a very good fit with the band. The songs are overproduced, and it lacks the pop pizzazz of the previous two albums. Stopped playing guitar though, which I think is influenced a bit by Neil Young. It does have a melody that really tugs at the heartstrings. Next, this is an interesting one, Thor's Hammer, and they were a mid-60s freak beat band with oodles of fuzz guitar. They came from Iceland, and they came over to England, to London, to record 4 tracks, which were only released in Iceland on the Parlophone label. This is a reissue from the 1990s on the Zonophone label. And next, one of the great punk bands from the late 70s, Buzzcocks, and it was a UK top 20 hit in the late 1978 through to 79. Both sides are slightly subversive love songs that focus on relationships that have gone sour. And I've uploaded the videos for both the tracks here, Promises and Lipstick, onto the playlist. Next, a 1976 reissue of Small Faces' Lazy Sunday, and for me this track's all about Steve Marriott's exaggerated Cockney accent, which really accentuates the humour to be found in the lyrics to the song. And next, it's a jangling guitar pop highlight by the Replacements from the album Tim. It's a little too polite and constrained for my liking. It's got an awful sleeve too, and both tracks come from the album. They're just signed at this point to the major label Sire, and they clearly didn't know how to promote the band. And next, it's a double single by the FASTBACKS on the Sub Pop label, and this comes in red and green vinyl. That's the one of them. And they were a Seattle-based band that perfected a pop-punk sound which always threatened to collapse into chaos, but was saved by some really quite excellent, at times, 60s-influenced pop songwriting. By this point in their career, they were on a successful label, but they didn't let bigger recording budgets turn them into a really just competent but bland, chart-friendly act. Next up, this is an interesting one, Viva Knievel, and this was their only release, an EP that came out in 1990. There were 1,000 copies only, and there's an insert there. I don't know if it's going to show up on screen, but if you look there, yeah, mine's number 691 of 1,000. And this is quite an historic release actually, as it's a band that includes Kathleen Hanna on vocals, and this is pre-Bikini Kill, and her full throttle vocals are instantly recognisable on this. Okay, and that's a selection for today. Let me know if you like this idea of showing singles, and if quite a few people say they do, I'll carry on and do some further videos at some point in the future. Okay, take care.